Hunger Games and West Side Story actress Rachel Zegler is incredibly annoyed with people posting pro-Palestinian images on social media because the image that has gone viral happens to be an image created through artificial intelligence, AI. And you might have actually come across this post on Instagram. It's the All Eyes on Rafah image. And it shows a massive tent encampment drawing attention to the displaced Palestinians who no longer have homes because they've been bombed. They've been displaced from their homes and are now living in these tent encampments. Now, the reason why she seems to have a problem with it is because the image is AI generated, and she feels that it's taking away from the work journalists on the ground have done in highlighting the horrific conditions and the slaughter that's taking place in Gaza. Here's what she has to say about the image, quote, "I genuinely find it disturbing that the only way so many people have suddenly felt comfortable sharing their support for Palestinian lives is via an AI-generated image that doesn't even begin to touch upon the actual horrors of what these human beings are experiencing." Zegler added that there are numerous GoFundMe appeals, infographics, and other pieces of art that would have been more effective posts to support the Palestinians in Gaza than what the internet has decided is its trendy version of showing up for a population that has been publicly massacred. Zegler is just wrong. She's just wrong, okay? And I'll explain why this type of image went viral as opposed to images of babies missing body parts and things like that. But I just want to say this before I go to you, Cenk. When people are on the right side of an issue, maybe find something else to criticize. Zegler has made like a career off of just criticizing things. She's always aggrieved about something. They agree with you on this issue, find something else to criticize, please.
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's gonna make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you, thank you. I'll just double down on that, and then I wanna get to the two giant reasons why this worked so well and reached so many people. And so you might not be familiar with those two reasons, that's why we wanna show it to you. But I don't particularly care about Zegler, but I do hate the idea of people who are like, oh, you should have done it another way. You should have done it better. Well, it reached 45 million people. They seem to have done it pretty well. And that's a message that's really important. So, hey, I got a great idea. Instead of criticizing, why don't you do one that reaches 46 million people? Great, wonderful, do it better, right? So, but like, this same thing happened with Mr. Beast when he did the thing to cure people who were blind. They're like, you should have cured more people. Oh, come on, brothers and sisters. He did something good in the world.
Yeah,
Can I get a thank you?
He provided cataract surgery for people, and I forget which nation it was in that he did that in, but it was a nice thing to do. It was a good thing to do.
When someone does something nice, first lead with, that's awesome, thank you. And then if you have a better idea, great, then do that idea. I love that, but be constructive instead of destructive.
Yeah, and look, the backlash led to the person who created the image to apologize, and that person is Shav4012. We're gonna get back to that individual in just a minute, but other online criticisms in regard or in response to that AI-generated image include people pointing to other big name individuals who shared the post after being relatively quiet on the issue. Listen, people are entitled to post what they want to post, okay? And not everyone is super political, and not everyone feels comfortable diving into, political issues that are as controversial as this one. So like, just be kind to people, meet people with grace, and understand that not everyone is like you. And by the way, she is the largest high-profile name to take issue with the mass activism post, Zegler is. However, there is a reason why that post went viral as opposed to some of the more horrific images that have been taken by journalists on the ground in Gaza, and that has to do with how algorithms work on social media. So if you're posting something that's gruesome, if you're showing bloodied bodies, if you're showing a dead body, that post, because of the way the algorithms work, is gonna be buried or it's gonna be shadow banned. Something that's generated through AI and doesn't have that kind of imagery is more likely to go viral because it's not going to be flagged for the type of explicit content that you might see in some of the other images coming out of Gaza.
Yeah, so there's another reason too, but first, look, again, let me double down on what Anna's saying about people who got to the right opinion. So Bernie was late in saying that what Israel's doing in Gaza is wrong. Who cares that he's late? He got to the right place, and he's the most powerful, well-known senator calling for Israel to stop and for us to stop sending money to Israel because they're killing too many Palestinians. Thank you, Bernie Sanders, for getting there. The head of Human Rights Watch, he got there late. He's a Holocaust survivor, okay? And so if Bernie lived in Israel, this guy who's a Holocaust survivor thought Israel had a right to defend himself, but now they both say it's a genocide, of course. Like the head of Human Rights Watch says it's clearly a genocide now. Thank you for getting there is the right reaction. Now, as to why people don't share the tougher posts, the more visceral posts about Rafah and Gaza overall, two reasons. One is the one Anna mentioned about, hey, listen, there are some restrictions on the platforms. And so there'll be known restrictions. They ban some violence having nothing to do with Gaza. They just say, hey, we can't show a headless baby. And that actually happened in Rafah. It didn't happen in Israel. Other tragedies happened in Israel, but it did happen in Rafah.
I want to give you a specific example that you might have noticed from our own coverage. Whenever we're showing you guys footage from Gaza, and there are dead bodies, children who have been severely injured, we blur it out because if we don't, that video, you're never gonna see it. It's not gonna show up on your feed. It might be demonetized entirely. So there are rules and terms of service, and they vary based on which platform you're talking about. But that doesn't mean that we're sanitizing our coverage of it. It's very clear we're explaining exactly what's happening in Gaza.
Right, and that rule is true whether it's Ukraine, Iraq, America in terms of violence. And guys, what Anna said is so important because if you say, well, just show it anyway. Yeah, we can, but then you won't see it.
Right.
Because it's not just about demonetizing. What they do is they prevent it from going to more people.
Exactly.
That's what the algorithm is built to do.
I have to read this quote, Cenk, because it reinforces what you're saying here. This is a social media consultant. His name is Matt Navarra, and he says, it, meaning the AI generated image, doesn't depict real world violence. Although it feels sanitized, that is what has enabled it to have the level of viral reach that it has received so far. So think about all the people who are not really paying attention to politics or world events or current events. They might see that AI generated post that says all eyes on Rafah, and that might actually make them curious about what that means. They might look it up and actually educate themselves about the situation. So there's something to be said about the virality of that image.
Yeah, one last thing about the platforms. Look, now specifically on the issue of Gaza and Israel. So what I've seen people on the right and the left complain about shadow banning, and they almost never have good evidence of it. They're just like, that post didn't do well. That's not evidence really. Okay, but I've been dealing with algorithms for as long as they've been around. And so on TikTok, for example, if you use hashtags related to Gaza or Israel, it gets way less views. If you do the same exact video, but without the hashtags, it'll get a lot more views. So it appears, and then people have similar theories about Facebook and Instagram. This one is more speculative. It's possible that if the algorithm thinks it's about Israel because it's so politically sensitive, and there might be 100 different reasons why they do it, but one of the more credible reasons is they think, I don't want to get in political trouble. If these things are like, they're already trying to ban TikTok. Mitt Romney and Anthony Blinken admitted it's partly because they think that TikTok is too tough on Israel, or the people who create videos, in other words, Americans, are too tough on Israel. So TikTok thinks, well, I don't want to get banned, right? So that's part of the potential calculus. But one last thing that's important, which is that a lot of people do not, even if it's just harsh words and not something that the algorithm would block, they don't share it because they're worried to death that they're going to get canceled. And especially if you're famous, because it already happened. Earlier on, Hollywood did a purge where a couple of people said, oh my God, I can't believe Israel's doing this, in fairly benign language. And they were, some of them were fired, and one of them was super powerful in Hollywood, and she was almost fired, right? And then these giant celebrities had to come in and go, well, I kind of like her. Maybe we allow her to criticize Israel a little bit, right? We just did a story earlier in the show that a nurse was fired. The student protesters were arrested. So I don't blame the celebrities and the powerful people who don't retweet me or share things from the Young Turks, because they're worried. These guys are telling the raw, honest truth. If I share that, I might get fired or I might get canceled. And that's the environment that America lives under. You all have to check to make sure, is it okay with Israel or is it not? I mean, CNN literally has all their stories go through the Jerusalem Bureau because it has to be checked by Israel before they put it on air. It's insanity. And so that's the reality. That's why I love what they did with All Eyes on Rafah. And the creator, please don't apologize. You did a brilliant job because you brought attention to the issue in a way that people were able to see it. And that's why All Eyes on Rafah is kind of a perfect words and symbol for this entire thing here. And thank you, brother or sister, for getting that message out. Thanks for watching the Young Turks. I really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.